Imagine pulling into your driveway after a long day, only to be confronted by your neighborhood's most notorious HOA enforcer, a woman who thinks she owns everything, including your brand new Tesla. She storms up, red-faced and furious, demanding your keys because she's convinced it's hers. What starts as a bizarre mix-up spirals into a full-blown neighborhood war, complete with wild accusations, sneaky sabotage, and a dramatic showdown that ends with her being dragged away in handcuffs. Buckle up for this insane tale of entitlement gone wild. If you're loving these wild HOA horror stories, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the next petty property drama. Share your own crazy neighbor tales in the comments below. Let's build this community of chaos. In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek Estates, where manicured lawns stretched like green carpets under the watchful eyes of the Homeowners Association, lived a young professional named Alex. Alex had recently splurged on a sleek, midnight blue Tesla Model S, a symbol of his hard-earned success in the tech industry. The car gleamed under the afternoon sun as he pulled into his driveway one crisp autumn evening, unaware that this purchase would ignite a firestorm of absurdity and conflict. The neighborhood was governed by a strict HOA, led by a woman known only as Karen, a moniker that fit her like a glove, given her penchant for enforcing rules with the zeal of a medieval inquisitor. Karen, in her mid-50s with perfectly coiffed blonde hair and a wardrobe of pastel cardigans, patrolled the streets daily, clipboard in hand, noting infractions from overgrown hedges to unauthorized holiday decorations. Her husband, a retired accountant, rarely intervened, leaving her to rule unchallenged. Alex, new to the area after moving from the city, had heard whispers about her but dismissed them as exaggerations. That evening, as he stepped out of his Tesla, keys dangling from his fingers, Karen appeared like a specter from behind a neatly trimmed bush. Her eyes locked onto the car with an intensity that bordered on obsession. She had always prided herself on being the first in the neighborhood to own the latest luxuries, and seeing this electric marvel in someone else's driveway stirred something deep within her, a mix of envy and delusion. Without a word of greeting, she approached, her sensible loafers clicking on the pavement. Alex, sensing the tension, paused, but before he could react, Karen's demands escalated in his mind, though the narration focuses solely on the unfolding events. She claimed the Tesla was identical to one she had ordered months ago, insisting there must be a delivery mix-up. Her conviction grew from a seed of jealousy planted when she saw Alex's car the day before, parked innocently while he unloaded groceries. In her twisted logic, the vehicle belonged to her because she deserved it more. After all, she was the HOA president, the guardian of property values. Alex, baffled, tried to explain the purchase papers were in his name, but Karen's entitlement knew no bounds. She began documenting what she called evidence, snapping photos with her phone, muttering about VIN numbers and fraudulent ownership. The neighbors, peeking from behind curtains, watched as the scene unfolded, a prelude to the chaos that would engulf Willow Creek. As dusk fell, Karen retreated to her home across the street, but not before leaving a scathing note on Alex's windshield, warning of HOA violations if the stolen car wasn't returned. Alex shook his head, chalking it up to a bad day, but little did he know this was just the beginning. That night, under the cover of darkness, Karen couldn't sleep, her mind racing with plans to reclaim what she believed was hers. She scoured online forums for stories of delivery errors, convincing herself that Alex had intercepted her dream car. By morning, she had drafted an official HOA complaint, citing the Tesla as a nuisance vehicle due to its unconventional charging setup, which she fabricated as a fire hazard. Alex woke to find the notice taped to his door, demanding immediate removal or face fines. Irritated but composed, he decided to ignore it, focusing on his work-from-home routine. However, Karen's campaign intensified. She rallied a small group of like-minded residents, those who feared her wrath more than they valued reason, and together they began a subtle harassment. Garbage bins mysteriously appeared blocking his driveway. Anonymous tips to the city about illegal parking flooded in. Alex noticed the changes but attributed them to coincidence at first. One afternoon, while charging his Tesla, he spotted Karen lurking nearby, binoculars in hand, as if spying on a criminal enterprise. Her obsession deepened when she discovered through neighborhood gossip that Alex worked in electric vehicle software, fueling her paranoia that he had somehow hacked into delivery systems to steal her order. In reality, Karen had never actually purchased a Tesla. She had only window shopped online, but in her narrative it was as good as done. The escalation continued as she petitioned the HOA board for an emergency meeting, painting Alex as a disruptive newcomer, threatening the community's harmony. The board, dominated by her allies, approved new rules targeting electric vehicles, requiring special permits that conveniently excluded her hypothetical future purchase. Alex received the updated bylaws in the mail, along with a bill for retroactive fees. Frustrated, he attended his first HOA meeting, where Karen presided like a queen on her throne. The room buzzed with tension as she presented slideshows of evidence, including blurred photos of his Tesla next to stock images of similar models. Alex defended his ownership, but the narration avoids direct quotes, focusing on the atmosphere thick with accusation. As the meeting adjourned, Karen cornered him in the hallway, her face inches from his, reiterating her claim. The incident left Alex unsettled, prompting him to install security cameras around his property. Days turned into weeks and Karen's tactics grew bolder. She began parking her own sedan, a modest hybrid, in spots that obstructed Alex's access, claiming prime street real estate as HOA perks. Neighbors whispered about her late-night vigils, watching Alex's house for any sign of vulnerability. One evening, a false alarm triggered the local fire department to his home, responding to a tip about a smoldering electric car. Firefighters found nothing amiss, but the spectacle drew a crowd, with Karen at the forefront, arms crossed in smug satisfaction. Alex's patience wore thin. He consulted a lawyer friend, who advised documenting everything for potential legal action. Meanwhile, Karen delved deeper into delusion, printing fake ownership documents from dubious online templates, convinced they would sway authorities. Her home became a war room, walls plastered with notes and photos of Alex's Tesla. Her husband, sensing the unraveling, suggested therapy, but she dismissed him, fixated on victory. The chapter builds to a climax when Alex discovered scratches on his car's paint, subtle key marks that screamed sabotage. Security footage revealed a shadowy figure, unmistakably Karen's silhouette, lurking near the vehicle under moonlight. Shocked, Alex reported it to the police, but without clear identification, they could only file a report. This incident marked a turning point, as whispers of Karen's instability spread through Willow Creek, fracturing her iron grip on the HOA. Yet, undeterred, she planned her boldest move yet, setting the stage for the confrontation that would unravel everything. As tension simmered, the neighborhood held its breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion that would expose the depths of one woman's entitlement. The fallout from the sabotage incident rippled through Willow Creek like a stone skipped across a pond, disturbing the fragile peace. Alex, now vigilant, upgraded his security with motion sensor lights and additional cameras, capturing every nuance of neighborhood activity. Karen, aware of the police report, feigned innocence in public while plotting retribution in private. She escalated her complaints, flooding the HOA inbox with accusations against Alex. Noise violations from his Tesla's silent engine, ironically silent, claimed as suspicious, and even alleging his home office disrupted residential zoning. The board, growing weary of her tirades, began to question her leadership, but fear kept them silent. Alex, meanwhile, dove into research, uncovering past HOA scandals under Karen's reign. Fines imposed arbitrarily, residents driven out over petty disputes. He connected with former neighbors online, gathering stories that painted her as a tyrant. One tale involved a family forced to repaint their house thrice because the shade of beige didn't match her vision. Empowered by this knowledge, Alex rallied a quiet resistance, emailing sympathetic residents about a potential vote to oust her. Karen caught wind of the murmurs through her network of informants, igniting her fury. She viewed Alex's Tesla not just as a car, but as a symbol of defiance against her authority. In her mind, possessing it would restore her dominance. Late one night, fueled by insomnia and indignation, she crafted a forged letter from Tesla's corporate office, stating a recall due to ownership discrepancy, and slipped it under Alex's door. The next morning, Alex laughed it off as amateurish, the letter riddled with typos and lacking official seals. But it prompted him to contact Tesla directly, confirming his legitimate purchase and alerting them to potential fraud. The company's response was swift. They flagged the incident for investigation. Unbeknownst to Karen, this set off a chain of events that would expose her schemes. As autumn leaves turned golden, the neighborhood prepared for the annual HOA election, a battleground where tensions peaked. Karen campaigned aggressively, distributing flyers that smeared Alex as an outsider with stolen property. Her obsession manifested in daily drive-bys, slowing her car to glare at the Tesla charging in the driveway. Alex, documenting each pass, built a dossier of harassment. One particularly stormy afternoon, the conflict boiled over when Karen organized a neighborhood watch meeting in her garage, ostensibly for safety but truly to rally against Alex. Attendees dwindled, many citing excuses signaling her waning influence. Frustrated, she took matters into her own hands, confronting Alex as he mowed his lawn. The narration details the intensity without words, her gestures wild, face contorted while Alex remained stoic. This encounter ended with her vowing to reclaim what's mine, a threat that chilled the air. That evening, Alex's lawyer advised a restraining order, but before papers could be filed, Karen struck again. Under cover of rain, she attempted to access the Tesla, fiddling with the door handles in a misguided belief that her ownership would unlock it. The car's alarm blared, lights flashing, alerting Alex and neighbors. He rushed out, phone in hand, recording the scene. Karen, caught in the act, spun a tale of checking for damage from the storm. But the video told a different story. Police were called, arriving to find her drenched and defiant. Officers questioned her, noting the inconsistencies in her claims. For the first time, cracks appeared in her facade as she rambled about delivery errors and conspiracies. The police, familiar with HOA disputes, warned her of trespassing charges but let her go with a citation, advising distance. This humiliation fueled her desperation. She spent the following days isolating herself, poring over legal sites for loopholes. Meanwhile, Alex's alliance grew, with residents sharing their own Karen horror stories. A dog fined for barking too aggressively, a swing set deemed an eyesore. The election loomed and Karen pulled out all stops, hosting a barbecue to sway voters. But attendance was sparse, the food untouched. Her paranoia peaked when she accused her husband of siding with Alex, leading to heated arguments that echoed through the streets. In a bid for sympathy, she faked an illness, claiming stress from the theft exacerbated her health, but the neighborhood saw through the ploy. As election day approached, Alex presented his evidence at a pre-vote gathering. Footage, forged documents, witness statements. The room filled with once fearful residents erupted in silent nods of agreement. Karen, arriving late, faced a united front. Her attempts to dominate fell flat, the tide turning irrevocably. Yet in her denial, she refused to concede, setting up for a final desperate act that would seal her fate. The chapter closes on the eve of the election, the air thick with anticipation as Karen hatched a plan born of delusion, one that would cross lines she never imagined. The election dawn broke over Willow Creek with a deceptive calm, the kind that precedes a tempest. Residents gathered at the community center, ballots in hand, the atmosphere charged with unspoken relief. Karen, dressed in her sharpest blazer, arrived early, clipboard at the ready, but the turnout favored change. Votes were cast anonymously, and as tallies emerged, her presidency crumbled. Overwhelming support for a new board, with Alex elected as vice president. The defeat shattered her, her face paling as results were announced. Refusing to accept it, she stormed out, vowing appeals and recounts. Back home, isolation bred madness. She fixated on the Tesla as the root of her downfall. In a frenzy, she gathered proof, receipts from her imaginary order, altered photos, and decided to confront Alex one last time. That afternoon, as Alex hosted a celebratory gathering with newfound allies, Karen marched to his door, pounding relentlessly. Neighbors watched from afar, phones ready. When Alex opened, she thrust forward her fabricated documents, demanding the keys immediately. The scene escalated rapidly. Her voice rose to shrieks, drawing more onlookers. Alex, calm, refused, suggesting she leave before police intervened. But Karen, unhinged, lunged for the keys on his entry table, knocking over a vase in the process. The crash alerted the group inside, who emerged to witness the chaos. Someone dialed 911 reporting an attempted theft. Karen, now hysterical, claimed self-defense, accusing Alex of assaulting her with words. Police arrived swiftly, sirens piercing the suburban quiet. Officers separated them, listening to accounts from multiple witnesses. Karen's story unraveled under scrutiny. Forged papers examined, revealing obvious fakes. A quick check with Tesla confirmed no record of her purchase, exposing the delusion. Handcuffs clicked as she was led away, protesting her innocence to deaf ears. The neighborhood exhaled collectively, watching the squad car depart. In the aftermath, Willow Creek transformed. The new HOA focused on community rather than control. Alex's Tesla, once a flashpoint, became a symbol of resilience. Karen faced charges of forgery, trespassing, and harassment, her trial a local spectacle. Convicted on misdemeanors, she received probation and community service, forced to relocate. Her husband, relieved, sold their home quietly. Alex thrived, his story shared in online forums, inspiring others to challenge petty tyrants. The saga ended not with vengeance, but with a restored peace, a reminder that entitlement has limits. Thanks for sticking around for this epic HOA takedown. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe for more insane neighbor dramas, and drop your wildest stories in the comments. See you in the next one.